So now we're going to talk about one of my favorite ontologies, although I do have some difficulty applying it, and that's the undifferentiated relational ontology. In the undifferentiated relational ontology, you basically have all individuals are one and the same. They are not individuals in a strict unitary sense, but all individuals contribute to kind of a collective consciousness or a collective whole. Let me draw it out, and this hopefully will become a little bit clearer. So you do have a big one. Every single individual is a big one, but it's part of another bigger one with another big O, and then it goes even bigger with the biggest higher level one. So you have everyone is the same, and everyone is part of the same whole. Let me give some examples that are a little more abstract, and then we'll apply them to maybe some more business cases. Think of for just a second when you go to the grocery store and you look at a bag of sugar, you open the bag of sugar, you lick your finger, stick in the bag of sugar, and you look at the grains of sugar. Now I know that not all grains of sugar are alike, but to the human eye, all of those grains of sugar appear and taste the exact same. So that when I buy sugar, I can count on sugar being a relatively uniform product. It will taste like sugar, it will look like sugar. Whether I take a scoop of sugar from the US or a scoop of sugar from Canada or any other country in the world, it should always be basically sugar. Every single individual grain of sugar will be like every single bag of sugar, which would be like all sugar everywhere you go in the entire world. And you can apply the same thing to, I don't know, bees or ants. I mean, I know that ants and bees may all have different personalities and different roles, etc. But when we look at them, to us as humans, outside of their kind of collective consciousness, they all appear the same. The ants on the sidewalk are the same as the ants eating all the food in my refrigerator when they're not supposed to be doing that, and they're the same as all ants everywhere you go. Even though I know scientifically that's not true, that's at least our basic perception. Now, the best example that I found of this undifferentiated relational ontology, for those of you who are sci-fi fans, is the Borg from Star Trek. Because every single individual Borg was part of the same collective consciousness, and so all Borg were the same as all other Borg. Every individual Borg was the same as all of the other Borg, and they were all part of the same consciousness, and you could swap any individual Borg for another Borg, and you get the exact same result. They were not individuals at all. Okay. Another example that one of your colleagues gave me, he saw this in a movie somewhere, but I guess there was at a Woodstock concert, and individuals became, during the music became so involving that the individuals became part of a collective consciousness in that particular moment. So that you had the people singing on the band stage, all the audiences were on kind of that same pulse, that same wavelength, and then, of course, they were all thinking the exact same thing, and they were all interchangeable parts of the same whole. Let's give a couple of theories, and maybe this will illustrate. Well, collectivism is a good example. And in collectivism, you basically have all individuals give up their identity to contribute to a greater whole within a particular community, like in a utopia, and again, make those same sacrifices for the biggest possible collective or interpretation of common good. Now there's another one that I think is important, and that's in statistics. So in statistics, of course, I'm sure that you're all familiar with how a normal distribution looks, right? Yeah, this is a very rudimentary one, right? You've got all your data points here, and you've got your mean and your standard deviations and everything, right? And so when you make some sort of a generalization based on a normal distribution, you are more or less assuming that all individual points are kind of like a representation of this general bell curve within the sample that you observed, and therefore you make some sort of a generalization about an entire population. So an individual data point is basically just like everything that you have found within the bell curve, of course, you know, standard deviations and means aside, and then you make some sort of a generalization about society as a whole. Think about marketing, right? You give out a marketing survey, you ask 100 men between the ages of 20 to 25, I don't know, 10 questions, and you mark them down in the sheet, and you take that sample of 100, so you took each individual man, you've got 100 men, and then based on your survey, you make an assumption about all men from the ages of 20 to 25. That's another example of the undifferentiated relational ontology in action. So we do use this ontology when we are doing surveys or statistical work. Great. So in our next video, we will discuss my personal favorite, the differentiated relational ontology. I'm looking forward to seeing you then.